What is up, guys? This is Mateo's 2020 Politics here, and right now I have yet another primary election night of 2020. I made one of these back in January, and now I'm going to be making it, 8 months later, so my voice definitely will sound different now. And yeah, this time it'll feature more candidates because you remember how last time it only had 14, but at the time it was like, wow, Mateo, you made 14 candidates? That's crazy. Because nobody expected there to be 27 candidates in the race. So there'll be 19 candidates in this video. There were 20 at first, but then Bill de Blasio dropped out while this video was in production, so I had to take all of his parts out basically. So then there was 19. The candidates are Vice President Joe Biden, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Kamala Harris, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, entrepreneur Andrew Yang, Senator Cory Booker, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Housing of Urban Development Secretary Julian Castro, spiritual activist Marianne Williamson, former Congressman John Delaney, billionaire liberal activist Tom Steyer, Senator Michael Bennet, Congressman Tim Ryan, Governor Steve Bullock, Mayor Wayne Messam, and former Congressman Joe Sestak. Now, we might remember this guy because I have made some videos on him because he's completely delusional. He has no chance of winning, but he just stays in the race no matter what. So, yeah. You'll be seeing him in this video a lot. He's going to stick around for a while with, no support. The Iowa caucus, February 3rd, 2020. Winner, Vice President Joe Biden. Delegates, 14 out of 56. Popular vote, 25%. 1 in 4 people. At second place, we have Senator Elizabeth Warren. And at third place, we have Bernie Sanders. Now, if we show all the candidates' scores, I guess, we have Elizabeth Warren, 11 delegates. Popular vote, 20.5%. Sanders, 11 delegates, 20% popular vote. Harris, 5 delegates, 8% popular vote. Buttigieg, 4 delegates, 6.5% popular vote. Then in the 6th place, we have activist Tom Steyer, delegates 2, popular vote 2.3%. Then we have Senator Amy Klobuchar, delegates 2, popular vote 2%. Cory Booker, 1 delegate and popular vote 1%. So I'd say Cory Booker is when you start to get to kind of so-called losers of Iowa. 9th, Congressman Beto O'Rourke, delegates 1, popular vote 1.5%. Entrepreneur Andrew Yang has 0 delegates but 1.4% of the popular vote. Tulsi Gabbard has 1.3%. Castro has 0.6%. John Delaney has 0.5%. Michael Bennet has 0.3%. Marianne Williamson has 0.2%. And then Governor Bullock and Congressman Ryan have 0.1%. And then Wayne Messam and Congressman Joe Sestak both get 0%. 0.0% to be exact. Breaking news! We're about to have a ton of dropouts here. February 4th, 2020. Tulsi Gabbard drops out of the presidential race after high spending and debate qualification failures. Breaking news! February 5th, 2020. Marianne Williamson drops out of the presidential race after negative results from Iowa and low polling for later contests. Breaking news! February 6th, 2020. Steve Bullock drops out of the presidential race after failing to qualify for the New Hampshire debate. Breaking news! February 7th, 2020. Michael Bennet drops out of the presidential race after failing to qualify for the New Hampshire debate. Breaking news, even more. February 12th, 2020. Tom Steyer drops out of the presidential race after mediocre and somewhat successful performance in Iowa, but with lots of heavy spending. And low polling for later contests. Even more breaking news. Tim Ryan drops out of the presidential race after low polling for next states. February 9th, 2020. And now, after a series of dropout candidates, we have the New Hampshire primary, February 11th, 2020. 8 days after the Iowa caucus. Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, his first victory in the primary, having 7 out of 24 delegates, which roughly equals 22% of the popular vote. We then have Vice President Joe Biden at 7 delegates and 21% of the popular vote. Elizabeth Warren at 6 delegates and 20% of the popular vote. Pete Buttigieg at 1 delegate and 9% of the popular vote. Kamala Harris at 1 delegate and 7% of the popular vote. Entrepreneur Andrew Yang at 1 delegate, 3.3% of the popular vote. Remember, sometimes they may not be proportional to each other, the amount of delegates and popular vote, because you could get a really high amount of popular vote, but the way you get delegates can sometimes vary on how many counties you win. HUD Secretary Julian Castro gets 1 delegate and 2.5% of the popular vote. Amy Klobuchar gets 0 delegates, but 1.5% of the popular vote. Cory Booker gets 1.4%. Beto O'Rourke gets 1%, and John Delaney gets 0.5%. As you can see, we have just put up our first map that shows the whole entire country and how all the candidates are doing compared to each other, with the 2 states averaged in. As you can see, the first, as I would personally say, 5 candidates do have a good shot. Now the 6, well, may have a hard time, but they would definitely have an easier time than 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place candidates. And the rest should just drop out, in my opinion. Breaking news. Just as we were speaking about the 0 delegate candidates, John Delaney drops out after never getting any delegates. February 11th, 2020. Breaking news. February 14th, 2020. Amy Klobuchar drops out after decreasing popularity. You could see how in Iowa, she had gotten 2 delegates, but then in New Hampshire, she had gotten 0. The Nevada primary, February 22nd, 2020. Winner, Vice President Joe Biden. He will get 12 out of the 44 delegates and 29% of the population. In second place, we have Senator Warren, and in third place, we have Senator Sanders. And now, we can see that Senator Warren has gotten 9 delegates and 17.5% of the popular vote, while Bernie Sanders has gotten 6 delegates and 15.5% of the popular vote. Harris has 15 delegates, 9% of the vote. Buttigieg has 4 delegates, 7% of the vote. HUD Secretary Castro has 3 delegates and 5% of the popular vote. Cory Booker has 1 delegate and 2% of the popular vote. Entrepreneur Andrew Yang and Congressman Beto O'Rourke both have 1 delegate, although Andrew Yang has slightly more of the popular vote. Then Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam will get 0.0% of the votes once again. They have never reached above 0.1% in any contest so far. As you may remember, these are just some stubborn candidates, and I've had to make a good amount of videos on one of them. Now, as you can see, we have Nevada on the national map. You can see that everybody has gone about 1 delegate up, except for Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam. You can see that the blue represents Bernie Sanders, while the red represents Joe Biden. In my opinion, I would say that once again, the top 5 candidates probably have a shot, while the next 4 will have a much harder time at having a shot and winning the nomination, but it would be justified for them to stay in and both drop out. While the 2, Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam, should probably drop out right now. Perhaps they're too stubborn to do so. Breaking news! February 25th, 2020, Julian Castro drops out after consistent low polling and mediocre performances. The South Carolina primary, the last contest until Super Tuesday, when the contest really begins. Winner! Vice President Joe Biden is sweeping the February states. He has Bernie Sanders at 2nd place and Kamala Harris at 3rd. As you can see, we have barely any candidates left, as almost half of them have dropped out. So we have Bernie Sanders at 14% of the vote and 8 delegates. Kamala Harris at 8 delegates and 13% of the vote. Warren at 7 delegates and 11% of the popular vote. Cory Booker at 3 delegates and 4% of the popular vote. Mayor Pete, 2 delegates, 3% of the popular vote. Beto O'Rourke and Andrew Yang, both at around 1% popular vote and 1 delegate. And then Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam will get 0.0% of the votes once again. As you can see, Joe Biden is sweeping the primary states of February. And once again, I'll make the statement that the top 5 candidates have the best shot, while the next 3 now that Castro has dropped out may stay in or may stay out, as either way I would understand. Super Tuesday, we have 10 states. A whole 1/5 of all the states that total primary coming out just in one night. March 3rd, 2020. Alabama, the first state of the South, besides South Carolina, to be involved in the primary. Winner, Vice President Joe Biden, 25 out of 60 delegates, with 40% of the popular vote. Then we have Bernie Sanders at second, and Kamala Harris at third. As you can see on the map, we have only a total of 10 candidates left. We have Bernie Sanders at 9 delegates and 15%. Kamala Harris at 8 delegates and 13%. Elizabeth Warren at 6 delegates and 9%. Cory Booker at 5 delegates and 8%. Mayor Pete at 3 delegates and 6%. O'Rourke having 2 delegates and 3%. And Yang have 1 delegate and 2%. Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam will get 0.0% of the popular vote once again, meaning they won't get any delegates either. Now we have our first victory for Kamala Harris in her home state of California. She will get 100 of the delegates, catapulting her way up in the field, but not enough to make her head of all the candidates nationwide. She will get almost 1/4 of all the delegates from her home state. As you can see, you may take your time to look at all the candidates. We have the usual with Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam getting 0.0% of the vote. And then we have Joe Biden in second place, Elizabeth Warren in third, fourth as Bernie Sanders. In fifth place, we have Pete Buttigieg. Sixth, we have Beto O'Rourke. Seventh, here's an error, sorry, Cory Booker. And eighth, Andrew Yang. Colorado, John Hickenlooper's and Michael Bennett's former, or rather current home states, but they've already dropped out of the race. We have Bernie Sanders securing yet another victory in this primary season, particularly the 2020 season. Out of the 100 delegates, he will get 26 of them, placing Biden in second place and Warren in third. Vice President Joe Biden will get second place, while Warren will get third, as we mentioned previously. Harris will get fourth. Fifth will be Mayor Pete. Sixth will be Andrew Yang. Cory Booker will get seventh. And eighth will go to Beto O'Rourke. As you can see, the final 3 candidates are typically always in 6th, 7th, or 8th place, which means that they may be considering dropping out. It'll be a possible consideration by them. Now, Maine winner Joe Biden. We have Senator Elizabeth Warren at second place and Bernie Sanders at third place. Then you will notice we have Pete Buttigieg in fourth place. Fifth place will go to Andrew Yang. I don't know why whenever I say fifth place, I always say the number 5 before the actual person. It's usually the other way around with all the other numbers. Interesting. Cory Booker will get 6th. 7th will get, Kamala Harris will get 7th. And Beto O'Rourke will get 8th place. Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam will get, guess what? 0.0% of the vote. Massachusetts, a long name, is happening. That should be a new term. Is happening to be Elizabeth Warren's home state, causing her to have an advantage in the state and securing 30 out of the 100 delegates, with the popular vote being about 40%. Right here we have Vice President Joe Biden at 25 delegates and 35% of the vote. Bernie Sanders in third place, fourth place as Pete Buttigieg, fifth place as Kamala Harris, sixth place as Cory Booker, seventh as Beto O'Rourke, and eighth as Andrew Yang. Sorry for the error. We we basically doubled Beto O'Rourke's name. But you see the image of Andrew Yang? Well, the name next to him should also be Andrew Yang. Then we have Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam getting 0.0% of the votes. Once again, Minnesota. Elizabeth Warren carrying her second win of the night and throughout the whole of the primary season. She will get 28 of the 100 delegates, which equals to 28% of the popular vote. We will have Vice President Joe Biden at second place, Bernie Sanders at third place, Pete Buttigieg at fourth place, fifth place to Kamala Harris. You see what I mean? I don't know why I always say fifth place before I say the person. Then we have Amy Klobuchar as a write-in, and she is actually withdrawn, getting 3% of the write-in votes in sixth place, as Minnesota is her home state, and it hasn't been too far. It hasn't been too long since she has dropped out of the race. Then we have Beto O'Rourke at seventh place. Man, it must feel pretty embarrassing to get passed by a candidate that already dropped out, right? Like, what, a whole 1-2 weeks earlier? Then we have Andrew Yang at 8th place, Cory Booker at 9th, and Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam at 0.0% of votes. You know what? I'm going to stop announcing the whole entire Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam thing because you guys will probably just guess it every single time. North Carolina. But winner, Vice President Joe Biden, 60 out of 150 delegates. Popular vote, 45%. We will have Bernie Sanders in second place, Elizabeth Warren in third place, Kamala Harris in fourth place, fifth place to Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker in sixth place, Andrew Yang in seventh place, Beto O'Rourke in eighth place. And then we had the usual with Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam. Take your time to look at the specific results in terms of their delegate and popular vote count. Oklahoma. This is Elizabeth Warren's birth state. We have Vice President Joe Biden getting 24 out of the 62 delegates, getting 40% of the popular vote. Then we have Elizabeth Warren at second place, and Bernie Sanders at third place. We will have, once again, Elizabeth Warren in second place, and my apologies, there was actually an error on this page. We mean to switch around Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders. So just take a moment to pretend that Bernie Sanders is replacing Kamala Harris. He's in third, she's in fifth. Sorry for the error. This is a very long Google slide. I had to check through it twice, and I still didn't find a couple of errors. Then we have Pete Buttigieg at fourth. Of course, we have fifth, that should be Kamala Harris, but it looks like Bernie Sanders. Cory Booker at sixth. Beto O'Rourke at seventh, and Andrew Yang at eighth. And once again, named him Beto O'Rourke. I don't know why. Tennessee. Winner, Vice President Joe Biden, having 40 delegates out of the 100 and 40% of the popular vote. We will have Elizabeth Warren at second place and Bernie Sanders at third. Then we'll have Kamala Harris at fourth place. Fifth place goes to Pete Buttigieg. There we go again, saying fifth before the actual person. Cory Booker at sixth place. Then we have seventh place to Beto O'Rourke, although it says Kamala Harris. Sorry for the error. And then I don't know why I keep saying that I don't know why I keep putting Beto O'Rourke, the name of him, next to an image of Andrew Yang. I don't know why it's always that. I don't know why it's always that the name Beto O'Rourke is next to Andrew Yang. I really don't know why. Texas, Beto O'Rourke's home state. He will get second place, which will possibly mean the end of his campaign, as he heavily spent money in his own state. Sorry for the stuttering. We have Vice President Joe Biden winning, and Bernie Sanders in third place. As you can see, we have Beto O'Rourke in second place, Elizabeth Warren in third, Feel the Burn at fourth, fifth is Kamala Harris, sixth is Pete Buttigieg, seventh is Julian Castro, who got write-in votes since he already previously dropped out, since this is also his home state. Andrew Yang at 8th place, and 9th place, Cory Booker. Then we have the usual with Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam. Virginia, Virginia. I don't know why I said it the first time. Like Virginia. That sounds kind of weird. Vice President Joe Biden, 40 delegates, 40% of the popular vote. Second place, Bernie Sanders. Third place, Elizabeth Warren. Fourth place, Pete Buttigieg. Fifth place, Kamala Harris. Sixth place, Beto O'Rourke. Seventh place, Cory Booker. And eighth, Andrew Yang. You might have noticed I actually stopped basically reading aloud the percentages, their delegate counts, because you may not notice it, but like if you're in my shoes, you're reading this whole entire Google slide, it's going to get very tiring and time consuming to have to say out their results. Arkansas, we're getting to the end of Super Tuesday. We have Vice President Joe Biden as the winner, with 16 out of its small amount of 37 delegates. It's a small package, but size doesn't matter. 40% of the popular vote. I don't. Technically, it's not inappropriate. I didn't say, any inappropriate word, but if you got the joke, and I'm sorry to anybody who doesn't like that. But yeah, if you got the joke, then congratulations, because I don't want to have to mention any inappropriate words in this channel. Second place, Elizabeth Warren, and third place, Bernie Sanders. Speaking about the whole inappropriate word things, in one video I dropped like 2 F-bombs, and I just decided to delete it because I don't feel good having curse words on my channel. I want this to be kid-friendly. Second place again, Elizabeth Warren. Third place, Bernie Sanders. Fourth place, Kamala Harris. Fifth place, Cory Booker. Sixth place, Pete Buttigieg. Seventh place, Beto O'Rourke. And eighth place, Andrew Yang. Utah! Senator Bernie Sanders winning its delegates, a total of 18 out of its 20 delegates, and 45% of the popular vote. We have Elizabeth Warren at second place, Joe Biden at third, Kamala Harris at fourth, fifth going to Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker at sixth, Beto O'Rourke at seventh, and Andrew Yang at eighth. Vermont, and it's been a very long Super Tuesday, but it is still going. Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, delegates 16 out of 20, 80% of the vote going to him. A landslide victory, the biggest landslide win of this whole entire primary season so far, although we're still relatively near the beginning. We're about, I would say, 1/5 through the race, maybe even more though. More like a quarter, around a bit less, but around there. We have Elizabeth Warren at second place, Joe Biden at third, Mayor Pete at fourth, Andrew Yang at fifth, and you'll see how all the candidates really got, low numbers because Bernie Sanders basically ate up all the votes. Cory Booker at sixth, seventh at, going to Beto O'Rourke, and eighth, Kamala Harris. You might notice that Kamala Harris seems to have a very bad time in the Northeast. She just simply can't really appeal to voters there. Now, Super Tuesday has ended. Here are the results of all the candidates averaged in for the whole entire race so far. We have first place going to Joe Biden, 589 delegates. Elizabeth Warren, 333 delegates. Double that and you get the devil's number. I just had to say that. Third place, Bernie Sanders, 305 delegates. Fourth place, Kamala Harris, 208 delegates. Fifth place, Pete Buttigieg at 120 delegates. Sixth place, Beto O'Rourke, 101 delegates, which is a very interesting number. And mainly, most of his delegates that he's had in the whole entire race came from his state of Texas, although he didn't win it. He got second place in it. Seventh place, Cory Booker, 32 delegates. Andrew Yang, 26 delegates. And Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam get 0 delegates. Breaking news. March 3rd, 2020, Beto O'Rourke drops out after losing his home state of Texas. He followed the popular tradition of dropping out after your home state has gone to a different candidate that is not you, that is not the individual that carries your soul, not, your personality that has the same, superficial skin that covers it and has the same ideas, just being specific. Super Tuesday Part 2. We have Washington, Idaho, Missouri, I almost blanked out, Mississippi, and Michigan going. Washington, Oh, and I was about to say that was Washington, but I kind of blanked out because many states kind of have that square shape. Washington will go to Bernie Sanders at 30 to 86 delegates. 30 out of 86 delegates. 30% of the popular vote. And then we have Warren at second place and third going to Joe Biden. As you can see, there aren't as many errors now as there were before because when there's so many candidates at the beginning of the slide, it's easier to get their names mixed up, their images mixed up, and just errors like that. But now that there are only 11 people left, which is almost just half of them from the beginning. No, actually, wait, why did I say 11? Are you kidding me? It's wait a second. It's 9. I just forgot that Better Work and Castro dropped out. That's so weird because I thought that we had 8 candidates here, plus 2 would be 10, and then we had Bernie winning, which would be 11. But actually, we have just 6 here, plus 2 equals 8, and then we have Bernie Sanders. That's 9 in total. Forgive me, I've had a long day, but I'm still enjoying this. So yeah, now that we have 9 candidates, so that means that right over half of the candidates have dropped out so far. You're going to be able to not spot as many errors as before, earlier in this Google slide. Idaho, we have winner Bernie Sanders. The delegate count is 13 out of 27 delegates, and then we have the popular vote at 50%. Second place will go to Elizabeth Warren, and third will go to Joe Biden. Second place, of course, and third place, we covered that. The fourth will be going to Kamala Harris. Fifth will be going to Pete Buttigieg. Sixth will be going to Cory Booker. Seventh will be going to... Are you kidding me? I just had the same error. Sorry, Andrew Yang, not Beto O'Rourke. And then we have Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam, again receiving 0.0% of the popular vote. North Dakota, we have Senator Bernie Sanders winning it with 8 out of 20 delegates, a plurality of the overall state's amount of delegates, 40% of the vote. Then we have Elizabeth Warren at second place and Joe Biden at third. We have Kamala Harris at fourth, fifth going to Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker at sixth, and Andrew Yang at seventh. Of course, Wayne Messam will get 0.0% of the vote, along with Joe Sestak. Misery, not Missouri. I'm going to call it misery from now on, right? I don't know if it's miserable there, but I'm just going to call it that because I used to get confused with the names back then. When I was 8, I used to call Missouri misery, so I'm just gonna keep calling that just to remind myself of my childhood. 30 out of 70 delegates going to Joe Biden, with the popular vote being 40%. We have second place going to Elizabeth Warren, and third going to Kamala Harris. Again, we covered second and third place, but then we have Pete Buttigieg in fourth, fifth going to Bernie Sanders, which is the lowest place that he's gotten in the whole primary season in his state performance. Sixth going to Cory Booker, and seventh going to Andrew Yang. Mississippi, we have Joe Biden at 23 out of 41 delegates and 55% of the popular vote. We have Bernie Sanders at second place and Kamala Harris at third place. She does relatively well in the southern states due to her black minority appeals. Then we have Elizabeth Warren at fourth place, Pete Buttigieg at fifth, Cory Booker at sixth, and Andrew Yang at seventh. Michigan, a big state, 153 delegates, and out of that, 75 going to Joe Biden. We have Elizabeth Warren at second place, Bernie Sanders at third place. Fourth place is going to occupy Kamala Harris. I don't know why I said it that way. Man, this whole entire thing is filled with corny jokes. And the whole entire small package joke, I don't know if I regret that or not. I'm just happy that, I made it very indirectly, in a really indirect joke. So it's not, super obvious to, younger people. But I'm sorry. Wait, am I? No, it was actually kind of funny. But don't worry, I will not say anything ever inappropriate on this channel. If I do have a good video and I curse in it, I might even delete it, even if it's a great video, because I will regret that. We have Pete Buttigieg at fifth place. And now I know why some of the slides, some of the names are mixed up and they don't represent the images. It's because sometimes I will copy the slide and like, let's say for Mississippi results, right? I'll copy it and then use it for the I don't know, the New Hampshire results, right? And then I'll change the results, of course, for each candidate because it's a different state. But then, like, I might forget to change the names of the candidates since I just copy and pasted the same slide. I can't fix everything. Cory Booker 6th place and Andrew Yang at 7th. Then we have Joe Biden at 1st place nationwide. Elizabeth Warren at 2nd. Bernie Sanders at 3rd. It has been this way the whole entire time. We have Kamala Harris at 4th. She won her home state of California, so she is green. She has 245 delegates. Pete Buttigieg at 134 delegates. Cory Booker and everybody down should probably drop out, in my opinion, because they're far behind the rest of the field, especially the bottom two people. We have Cory Booker at 37 delegates, 28 delegates being rewarded to Andrew Yang, and then, of course, the other two candidates get no delegates at all. Okay then. Super Tuesday Part 3, we have it occurring at March 17th. But this is not the official name of it, Super Tuesday Part 3, but it is often nicknamed that because it's basically multiple states all in one night. We have Ohio, Illinois, Arizona, and Florida casting their votes tonight. We have Ohio, but going to Joe Biden at 55 out of 125 delegates, 45% of the popular vote. We have 2nd place going to Elizabeth Warren, and 3rd place going to Bernie Sanders. We have Kamala Harris at 4th, Pete Buttigieg at 5th, 6th going to Cory Booker, 7th going to Andrew Yang. If I sound a bit rushed, it's because I forgot to put on my timer, so I don't know how long this video actually is. I hope you're enjoying it though, because I don't know if my jokes are being funny or not. Because, according to other people, I'm always funny accidentally. Because whenever I show my friends my videos, my political rants, they always laugh, and I'm like, wait, I don't get it, and I'm like, okay, I guess, when I try to make people laugh, it doesn't work. But then when I am not trying, it somehow does. So I don't know if you guys are laughing from these jokes or whatever. We have 75 delegates, which is exactly half of 150 going to Joe Biden, which is basically 50% of the popular vote. 2nd place will go to Elizabeth Warren. 3rd will go to Bernie Sanders. 4th will go to Kamala Harris, and 5th will go to Bernie Again, I made the mistake of copying the slide and pasting it, making some changes to the results since it's a different state, but not changing the name. So just pretend it's Pete Buttigieg. 6th, Cory Booker. 7th, Andrew Yang. Again, the less candidates there are, the less likely there are to be errors. Arizona, a hot state for immigration. Vice President Joe Biden will be winning that state, with 31 of the 79 delegates being rewarded to him. 40% of the popular vote also be won by him. We have Elizabeth Warren in 2nd place and Bernie Sanders at 3rd. As you can see, we already covered the 2nd and 3rd place candidates. We also have Pete Buttigieg at 4th, Kamala Harris at 5th, entrepreneur Andrew Yang at 6th, and Cory Booker at 7th. Then we have the usual tradition with Mr. Sestak and Mr. Wayne Messam, although they aren't really too important, so I'll just call them by their first names. We have Joe and Wayne at 0.0% of the votes. Florida, probably one of the most important states of the whole entire primary and general election race. We have Vice President Joe Biden winning it with 119 out of its 248 delegates, a total of 44% of the vote going to him, almost the majority of the state. 2nd place going to Kamala Harris, and 3rd place, wait, this time there wasn't even a typo. I just straight up said Kamala Harris for no reason. I didn't have her in my mind, because usually when you have somebody in your mind and you're like reading somebody else's name, you might get it mixed up, but she wasn't even in my mind. And there was no typo here, so I don't know why I just confused them. But yeah, we have Elizabeth Warren at 2nd place and Bernie Sanders at 3rd. We already read the candidates that are in 2nd and 3rd place. We have 4th going to Pete Buttigieg, 5th going to Kamala Harris, 6th going to Cory Booker, 7th going to entrepreneur Andrew Yang, and 8th, for the first time, we see Wayne Messam's face. Face reveal, guys, face reveal, because he has gotten 1 out of 200 votes from the state because it's his home state. Still did a very bad job, but it looks incredibly impressive compared to his other performances. Now it's only Joe Sestak that has gotten 0.0% of the votes. His home state is Pennsylvania, in case you're wondering. We have Joe Biden at first place, averaged out nationally. Elizabeth Warren at second, 527 delegates. As you can see, she only has roughly half of Joe Biden's delegates, who's just reached 1,000 of them. Then we have Bernie Sanders at 468 delegates, not too far behind Elizabeth Warren. Here's where we really start to get behind. We have 291 delegates, aka fourth place, going to Kamala Harris. Pete Buttigieg receiving 173 delegates. Cory Booker receiving 51. Andrew Yang receiving 36. And then, of course, we have Joe Sestak and Wayne Messner at 0. Breaking news! Cory Booker drops out after mediocre performances March 18th, 2020. It's crazy how we've had dozens of states all cast their ballots just in the month of March, and we're barely halfway through the month. This is like the primary month. The Georgia primary, March 24th, 2020. We have Vice President Joe Biden capturing the state of Georgia. 44 out of the 120 delegates, 38% of the popular vote. We have Elizabeth Warren at second place, and Bernie Sanders at third. Pete Buttigieg at fourth. Kamala Harris at fifth, and entrepreneur Andrew Yang at sixth. You can see that there are less and less candidates, so there aren't as many on the screen, which means that we're going to change the format of it, because since there are less candidates, they'll all get to make up more space on this page. So you're going to see that each time when a candidate drops out, it's going to change starting from now. Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren are once again in first and second place. Elizabeth Warren has the number 555 for total delegates that she has captured so far. Bernie Sanders, 490 delegates. Kamala Harris, 302 delegates. Pete Buttigieg at 185 delegates. Andrew Yang at 38, relatively far behind the field, but nothing compared to the next two candidates, who I do not want to mention their names. Whose names will not be mentioned, pardon me. Breaking news! Pete Buttigieg drops out after mediocre performances. He was expecting to win some states, however, he did not. He has dropped out on March 24th, 2020. The Louisiana primary, April 4th, 2020. You see, at least Pete Buttigieg could recognize that he was not doing too well and he might not win the primaries, and he dropped out. Maybe that's a hint to Andrew Yang and the two names that I will not mention for them to drop out. We have Vice President Joe Biden winning the state of, I'm blanking out, Louisiana, the Deep South. 43 out of 57 delegates, 70% of the popular vote. Second place will go to Elizabeth Warren, while third will go to Bernie Sanders. As you can see, we just changed the format, and yes, it looks much better now that we have more space. We have Elizabeth Warren in second place, Bernie Sanders in third place, Kamala Harris in fourth, entrepreneur Andrew Yang in fifth, and I will not mention the other two names on this screen. We have Joe Biden at 1,118 delegates. Of course, he's the red. He's dominated the whole entire South. We have Elizabeth Warren at 560 delegates. Bernie Sanders at 493. Kamala Harris at 304. Andrew Yang at 39. And the other two at 0. The Wisconsin primary, April 5th, 2020. Winner, Vice President Joe Biden, getting 20 out of the 50 delegates, with the popular vote being 40%. We have Elizabeth Warren getting second place, and then we have Bernie Sanders getting third place. As you can see in this map, we have already showed you the results of the second and third place slots. We have Elizabeth Warren, once again, in second place, and Bernie Sanders, once again, in third. We have Kamala Harris in fourth, and Andrew Yang at fifth. You can see these are typically the usual results for each candidates, and it will stay like this for a while. We are more than halfway through with our states. We have Joe Biden at 1,138 delegates, Elizabeth Warren at 570 delegates, Bernie Sanders at 502 delegates, Kamala Harris at 307 delegates, Andrew Yang at 41 delegates, and the others are irrelevant. Breaking news! Andrew Yang drops out after being at the end of the pack for a while, April 6th, 2020. As you can see, the Wisconsin primary was on April 4th or 5th. So either way, he didn't drop out instantly after the results of Wisconsin came in. He took some time to think and realized that he may not be able to win the nomination. The Wyoming primary, April 6th, 2020, coming out just a few hours after Andrew Yang has dropped out. We have Senator Bernie Sanders at 9 out of 18 delegates, exactly half of the popular vote. Joe Biden at second place, why do I keep calling Elizabeth Warren Kamala Harris? It makes no sense. We have Senator Elizabeth Warren at third place. Now we have second place, of course we mentioned Joe Biden, and third place Elizabeth Warren. We have fourth place Kamala Harris, and then Wayne Messam and Joe Sestak, 0% of the vote once again. Now we have the official results nationally. You can take a look at this map. We only have 6 candidates left. We are way more halfway through. We are farther through the halfway mark of all the candidates. We have Joe Biden at well over 1,000 delegates, being way ahead of the rest of the field. Elizabeth Warren having 573 delegates. Bernie Sanders not too far behind, also being in the 500s, but specifically having 511 delegates. Kamala Harris having 308 delegates. And I'm not going to mention the rest from now on. The Alaska and Hawaii primary. Thankfully, it just took Alaska to take a while to load because I was worried that I just forgot to paste it in there. April 7th, 2020. Alaska, its results will be Bernie Sanders, having 13 out of the 18 delegates and 70% of the popular vote. One thing you may notice now is that candidates, instead of winning the plurality of the vote of each state, they're winning the majority, since there are less candidates and therefore less vote splitting. We have second place going to Elizabeth Warren, and third place going to Joe Biden. We also have Kamala Harris in fourth place, and we're just going to ignore the rest of the candidates. Hawaii will go to Bernie Sanders. He will get 20 out of 34 delegates, 60% of the vote, with Elizabeth Warren getting second place and Joe Biden getting third. After that, we have the usual fourth place slot going to Kamala Harris. Now we have Vice President Joe Biden even more ahead of the field at 1,146 delegates. Elizabeth Warren at 580 delegates. Bernie Sanders at 531 delegates. Kamala Harris at 310 delegates. Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam at 0 delegates. Next, we have April 28th, 2020. Whoever has stayed this long is kind of becoming a player. We have the large state of Pennsylvania going today. And then we have my home state of New York going today, too. Delaware. Joe Biden's home state will go to Joe Biden. He will get 12 out of the 20 delegates, and 60% of the popular vote. Second place will go to Senator Elizabeth Warren, and third place will go to Bernie Sanders. Fourth place will go to Kamala Harris at 1 delegate and 5% of the popular vote. Pennsylvania, a large state full of 20 electoral votes for the general election, will have 153 delegates in the primaries. We have 54 of those delegates going to Joe Biden, which is a plurality of the delegates. Of course, a plurality means that you still won the state, but you know, if you were to combine the amount of delegates that all the other candidates had, it outnumbers you. You know, it's not like you didn't get over 50% of them. Second place, Elizabeth Warren, and third place, Bernie Sanders. Kamala Harris getting fourth place, and you have 2 candidates whose names I will not mention getting 0% of the vote because it's getting pretty irritating to mention their names. Connecticut having gone to Joe Biden with 60% of the popular vote and 38 out of the 64 delegates. As you can see, after a while of conducting the slide, I will start to have more gaffes and I'll start to make more language mistakes. As I just said, 38%. And I didn't say, when I should have said 38 out of 64 delegates. Then we have Elizabeth Warren getting second place, Bernie Sanders getting third, and Kamala Harris getting fourth once again. These will be the usual results of the candidates for a while. Rhode Island, home state of Family Guy. Vice President Joe Biden will carry this state, having 11 out of the 21 delegates and 50% of the popular vote. Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren will get second and third place, respectively. Then we have Senator Kamala Harris getting fourth place. Maryland, the place where they married each other. Vice President Joe Biden will get 110 of the delegates out of 141, 70% of popular vote. Speaking about Maryland and marrying, the people who should marry here are Joe Biden and Sanders, since they're first and second place. And yes, it is homosexual, and we did all believe they were straight because they both have wives, but I guess more breaking news, they're both homosexual. Second place, Bernie Sanders, and third place, Elizabeth Warren. Second place again, Bernie Sanders, third place again, Elizabeth Warren, and fourth place, Kamala Harris. New York, my home state, Vice President Joe Biden will win the state, 108 out of 270 candidates. Delegates, you see, I keep messing up because when I'm on the slide for a while, again, I mess up. 40% of the vote, which means it was a harsh contest. Every single candidate will hopefully get a delegate since there are 270 of them. Elizabeth Warren getting 81 delegates in second place. Bernie Sanders getting 54 delegates in third place. Kamala Harris getting 27 delegates and 10% of the popular vote in fourth place. And Wayne Messam and Joe Sestak are still getting 0% of the damn vote. Now we have Joe Biden, first place, 1,479 delegates. Elizabeth Warren, 740 delegates. Bernie Sanders, 652 delegates. Kamala Harris, 370 delegates. And we have the next two candidates having 0 again. Breaking news! Joe Sestak finally drops out! You can see my excitement there after getting no support, literally no support, and losing his home state of Pennsylvania. Now again, I have made videos on Wayne Messam. I have not on this guy. And that's because this guy actually recognizes, okay, I'm not doing well. But with Wayne Messam, he doesn't, so he's really stubborn. That's why he's staying around for a while. Now we have 6 more states coming out in the month of May. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, May 3rd, 2020. This is also the date that Ted Cruz dropped out in the 2016 Republican primaries. Vice President Joe Biden will win it, getting 27 out of the 67 candidates, 40% of the popular vote, and Bernie Sanders will get second place, and Warren will get third. Fourth will be Kamala Harris, and then we have Wayne Messam. Yes, he is being shown here since there's no space for him on the screen, but he still is getting no votes whatsoever. Then we have first place, once again, Joe Biden, getting 1,506 delegates. Elizabeth Warren getting 756 delegates. Bernie Sanders getting 675 delegates. Kamala Harris getting 373. And way down below is Wayne Messam at 0 delegates. He's pretty stubborn, isn't he? He's also the only candidate to have not won a state yet. Indiana, May 5th, 2020. The home state of Pete Buttigieg. Let's see where Pete Buttigieg's state lands in terms of who they vote for. We have Vice President Joe Biden getting 27 out of the 77 delegates and 35% of the popular vote. We have Bernie Sanders getting 19 delegates and 25% of the popular vote. Kamala Harris getting 11 delegates and 15% of the popular vote. And third place going to Elizabeth Warren at 15 delegates and 20% of the popular vote. Once again, Wayne Messam will get 0 delegates. And now we have not much of a change on the general map, since the state did not really affect this primary so much so far compared to states like Florida, Texas, or California. Now we have Joe Biden just being a few delegates up at 1,533 delegates. Elizabeth Warren getting 771 delegates. Bernie Sanders getting 694. He's starting to stray and trail behind Elizabeth Warren now. And Kamala Harris 384 delegates. Kentucky Fried Chicken. May 12th, 2020. We have winner Joe Biden. Delegates 26 out of 54. Popular vote 50%. Second place, Senator Bernie Sanders. And third place, Elizabeth Warren. Of course, we have second place going to Bernie Sanders and third going to Elizabeth Warren. We have fourth place going to Kamala Harris and fifth going to Wayne Messam. Mess him up, although he can't really do that, actually, because he's not strong enough. Okay then, don't mean to sound like a bully, because I know I'm not. I'm just trying to make you guys, I'm thinking that, the whole entire thing with Wayne Messam, and Joseph Stack, although to less of an extent, I feel like, of course I'm exaggerating, but it is possible these guys are stubborn enough to stick around for this long in this race. So I just decided, why not have fun in it while making this slide. Breaking news! No, it was not Wayne Messam who drops out. It is Kamala Harris who drops out after consistently getting fourth place and having low polling for the next contests. Oregon, May 19th, 2020. Senator Bernie Sanders will carry this state at 26 out of 66 delegates, 40% of the popular vote. And then we have Joe Biden getting second place and Elizabeth Warren getting third. As you can see, the format is once again changed because there are less candidates now, just 4 now. We have Vice President Joe Biden getting 23 delegates and 35% of the popular vote. Warren getting 12 delegates and 20% of the popular vote. And Wayne Messam getting the usual 0 delegates and 0% of the popular vote. Again, he's stubborn. I've made videos on him. You have Joe Biden at 1,582 delegates. Elizabeth Warren at 793 delegates. Bernie Sanders at 740 delegates, catching up to Elizabeth Warren. And then we have Wayne Messam at 0 delegates. Of course, the green represents a withdrawn candidate, which is specifically Kamala Harris. Nebraska. We have... Why did I say it like that? I could have just said Nebraska. May 23rd, 2020. Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, getting 16 out of the 29 delegates, 45% of the popular vote. We have Joe Biden getting second place, and Elizabeth Warren getting third. And then WM getting fourth, Wayne Messam, WN. Actually, that sounds cool. Wait, MWN, because it's Mayor Wayne Messam. MWN. First place, Joe Biden, 1,582 delegates. Second place, Elizabeth Warren, 802 delegates. Third place, Bernie Sanders at 756 delegates. And Wayne Messam at 0. Didn't we just do Nebraska? Hold on. We just did Nebraska. You know what? I think that I probably just gave the same name to a wrong state. You see, I made a ton of mistakes on this. Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, getting 21 out of the 39 delegates. Popular vote, 55%. Joe Biden getting second place. And Warren getting third. Mayor Wayne Messam will, of course, once again get 0% of the vote. Now, I believe that state that I just got wrong and called Nebraska, I think it was Kansas. No, it was Kansas. I remember that I made the Kansas slide right after the Nebraska one. So yeah, Kansas goes to Bernie Sanders. June 2nd, 2020, the last final 5 states. We have Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, I almost said North, and Washington, D.C. voting. Montana. Bernie Sanders will win this race, getting 10 out of the 22 delegates. Again, the format has been changed, and 45% of the popular vote. Second place will be Vice President Joe Biden, getting 7 delegates and 30% of the vote. Elizabeth Warren getting 44% of the vote, 4 delegates and 20% of the vote. And Wayne Messam getting 0 delegates and 0% of the vote once again. New Jersey, sorry. You see, my mom just laughed. And I'm always funny by accident, never by purpose, on purpose. Joe Biden will get 11 out of the 29 delegates. 40% of the popular vote. Elizabeth Warren will get eight delegates and 30% of the popular vote. Senator Bernie Sanders will get 7 delegates and 25% of the popular vote. Cory Booker will get 3% write-in, 3% of the votes. Of course, he's a write-in since he already dropped out, and then 1 delegate in total, which means that by the time the end of the primary rolls around, he'll, instead of having 51 delegates, he'll have 52. New Mexico. Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, 9 delegates out of 22, popular vote 40, and then Vice President Joe Biden getting 7 delegates and 35% of the vote. Elizabeth Warren will get 4 of the delegates and 20% of the popular vote. Mind if I almost sound like I have a lisp, but I just got braces a week ago, so that's why I sound a bit different. It's why it's a bit harder to pronounce these people's names. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's the braces. I just made her laugh again. And then I just made her laugh again by saying that I made her laugh. And then she just laughed. So confusing, you know? Winner, Senator Bernie Sanders, 8 out of the 17 delegates, 8 out of the 19 delegates, 45% of the vote. Joe Biden getting 6 of the delegates and 30% of the vote. Warren getting 4 delegates and 20% of the vote, and Wayne Messon once again getting 0% of the vote and 0 delegates. Washington, D.C., the very last contest of this whole entire Google slide, and therefore primary, will be won by Joe Biden with an overwhelming 80% of the popular vote, with 36% out of the 43 delegates going to him. Bernie Sanders will get 4 delegates, Warren will get 3, Wesson will get 0, or rather MWM will get 0. Bernie Sanders will get 10% of the vote, Warren will get 8, and then MWM will get 0% of the vote. As you can see, we have the final results of all the states together, the final 4 candidates, which should all have at least 100 delegates, but at least one of them in particular does not. These 4 candidates will be going into the convention, which will start on July 13th and end on July 16th. Joe Biden wins the Democratic primary of 2020. The other candidates are forced to drop out after the convention. Here are the results of all the candidates throughout the whole entire race. We have Joe Biden in first at 1,663 delegates, Elizabeth Warren at 833, Bernie Sanders at 815, 388 for Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg at 185, and you might notice that Beto O'Rourke is actually further ahead than Cory Booker and Andrew Yang, and although he dropped out way earlier, it's just that he had gone second place in Texas, and that really boosted up his delegate count. So if it weren't for Texas, he might just be down near, or maybe even below Andrew Yang, since he's actually polling below him. We have 7th place going to Cory Booker, 52 delegates, Andrew Yang at 41 delegates, Castro at 6 delegates, Klobuchar at 5, Tom Steyer at 2. Now, for the rest, you might think, okay, Mateo, they're all tied. But it actually depends on their popular vote. So, for example, Tulsi Gabbard got 0 delegates, just like the rest of the candidates. But she got the highest popular vote out of the rest of the candidates. They got 0 delegates. Then we have John Delaney, Michael Bennet, Marianne Williamson, Steve Bullock, Tim Ryan, and then we have Wayne Messon and Joe Sestak tied with 0 delegates. Thank you for watching this video. I had tons of gaffes, which I'm not going to edit out. And normally, I would probably delete the video because of how many gaffes I had, but I'm just like, why not keep it? It's funny. The small package joke, I think I regret that joke, but, at least I didn't say anything actually inappropriate in it. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and bye!